caregiver advisor, and I am today with Jillian Bladeau, and I am super excited to have you here and get to share a little bit more about the Fall into Wellness Night. So Jillian is actually going to be here and going to be in charge. Should I say charge?
Yeah, I would say in charge. Large and in charge.
Well, I don't know about in charge, but we'll figure out exactly what that dynamic's going to look like.
Yeah.
But Jillian is going to be the one who is going to be providing the essential oils for the bath bombs that you guys will be making as caregivers. So we just kind of wanted to share a little bit about some of the blends and why you chose the blends that you did for the evening, and try to get some feedback possibly from the caregivers that are going to be coming and who might be watching the video.
Yeah.
But also, I would love for you to kind of share a little bit about your story and how you're a caregiver too, because I think it's really important that people kind of identify with a lot of the vendors that are also going to be here who have either had somebody caregive for them, which you have as well.
I have.
And you've also been a caregiver.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
I have been a caregiver in a number of different roles. I looked after my dad while he was having chemotherapy. I cooked for him, I cleaned for him, did his laundry, that kind of stuff. I have grandchildren that I care for. I have a child that I care for. I have friends that I support. But in 2009, I was in a substantial motor vehicle accident that ultimately down the road led to me being in a wheelchair and unable to get up and move around. So I then have home care that comes in to help me with my activities of daily living,
Right.
getting dressed and that kind of stuff. So, and one thing I did forget is I had a major role as a caregiver when I worked as a registered nurse. I have a specialty in neurology and gerontology. I've worked with elderly, stroke patients, people with head injuries, that kind of stuff. So I've worked as a professional caregiver, I guess you could say,
Right.
as well as a role in that caregiving role in my life for years.
Right. So here's something really intriguing, because we're hoping that we're going to reach out to some of those caregivers that maybe don't identify as a caregiver or a care provider in the professional sense. How would you learn to identify? Because I know you and I have had this conversation and we've been able to go to wellness shows because you're also a volunteer here.
Yes.
And we're super fortunate to have her. And we've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people who actually don't identify as being a caregiver.
As a caregiver.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed when we were at a wellness event, asking questions, do you help your parents grocery shop? Do you take them to medical appointments? Do you listen to a friend who's struggling in their life and support them? These are questions that I asked people that came by the booth, and they didn't, before I talked to them, realize that that was a caregiving role. And it's important that we create a dialogue where that conversation can happen so people do understand that while they're providing support to other people, they're in that role of a caregiver.
So here's a great question that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
When you were having these conversations, because I know I was there too, but it was really amazing us having the conversations later, what were some of their reactions of starting to realize and identify as being a caregiver? What was it like for them?
It's like watching somebody have an aha moment, like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Right.
I guess I am a caregiver.
Right.
And then there was some that were like, no, I'm not a caregiver and I don't want to be.
Right.
It was just fascinating to see people really stop and think about the fact that they are caregivers and realize that what they're doing is caregiving for somebody.
Right. And even acknowledging, some people that were there, they're like, where were you 3 weeks ago? and they needed support. So knowing now that Caregivers Alberta actually supports people in that way, and you being a volunteer have learned so much in the last month that you've been volunteering here.
I have, for sure.
So now let's move forward to Fall into Wellness, the real reason why we're here.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share some of the essential oil blends that you're going to be able to provide that night.
I thought I would cover 4 bases.
Okay.
I know that for myself and for people that I've worked with, the things they struggle with the most are their energy level.
Absolutely.
So I'll have a blend that will help you with your energy level.
Okay.
Sleeping. I will have a blend that will help you sleep or is calming.
Right.
Another one that people struggle with is their immune system, because they can't get sick, because if they get sick, they can't be in that caregiving role.
Right.
So we'll have something to help you with your immune system. And I thought it would be nice to just do one strictly like relaxation.
Nice. So what are some of the essential oils that are in those blends?
So I would use, some of them that are coming to mind would be, of course, lavender. You're looking at something like a tea tree oil. I will probably use, we have some other blends called Balance and Purify, On Guard, which is really good for your immune system. So it's trying to get the combination that works specifically for that person. That's why I'm going to be there, to help you choose which oils will be of benefit for you in that situation.
So ultimately, if they wanted to do a mini consult that night, you're going to have the time to be able to sit or stand or whatever it may look like that night. We're not exactly sure, but be able to have a consult to determine exactly what is best for that caregiver's needs.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And are you going to have some oils on hand that they might be able to leave with if they want it?
I will.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I think that's super important, because, if we can get you caregivers here and understand how important the body, mind, spirit balance is, and just to come in for some respite that night and be able to enjoy the evening, and then have that consult. But not only that, as you know, personally some of the people that are going to be here that evening. And I also know some of I pretty much know most of them. And the idea, actually I want to rephrase. So what is your thought process of the people that you know that are coming? What should our caregivers expect?
To be showered with love.
Oh, that's a good way.
Yeah.
And
these are all extremely heart-centered people that love to help others.
Right. And how do you think what is our goal, our hope for these caregivers when they leave?
My goal, and yours, I'm sure, is one, to educate them about the role of being a caregiver and what you need to do to stay healthy.
Right.
And getting them the services that they may need in order to do that.
Cool.
And the importance of self, like looking after yourself, so that you can look after others.
Right. And that's a big misconception, and looking after your own well-being, of course, means finding things that you find pleasurable, things that you find joy in, and whatever that may look like for whoever it is. So I am also looking forward to some of the speakers that are going to be here. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
But I have a
I'm
feeling
excited. You're
going to be so busy with the bath bombs, because we're getting like little different shapes and stuff that you can bring them home in.
I have not done this on this level yet, so I'm super excited about it.
And we're planning to make over 100 bath bombs, so we need to make sure you guys share these videos. And if you know anybody who's a caregiver, to ensure that they know that they can come to this Fall into Wellness night, which is so quickly approaching.
I know.
Tuesday.
It's right around the corner.
I know, isn't that crazy? Tuesday, October 29th. It's from 5 to 8 p.m., so it's 3 hours, and I'm sure that if it takes a little longer to make sure that everybody has gotten the support and the body, mind, spirit balance that we're hoping that you will, I'm sure we could stay a little longer. Please share. Please educate people. If you know somebody who may not identify as being a caregiver, because this is an evening that could really show some support and possibly some reprieve, some resources, and learn, number one, more about being a caregiver, but number two, finding different ways that may potentially work for you to find some wellness. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jillian, for spending time with me.
So I never asked you.
Oh, wow.
What are you hoping?
What am I hoping?
What do you think this night's going to look like?
So for me, because I have a holistic background, my goal is that people actually come in, feel uplifted, especially if they've been through a stressful time and a bit overwhelmed, that they feel like when they walk in here, there's so much positive energy based on and support based on that night, that when they leave, they actually feel like they've had some sort of healing. And that's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
But ultimately, if we can reduce the stress that's here just by a little bit, then I think we've accomplished my goal anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you again so much for
Thank
spending
you for
this time.
including me in this.
I couldn't have found
excited.
anybody else to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, caregivers, for listening. Again, please share if you know anybody. Please make comments if there's another blend that you might be interested in, because I'm sure
more
you'd
than
be
happy to
accommodate. And have a fabulous Wednesday night.